Blackbraid is back with their brand new album, Blackbraid 3. So you want to listen to this review for two reasons. Number one, to see if this is one of the best black metal albums of the year. And two, to see if I can actually pronounce this dude's name. Find out next. Welcome, metal enthusiasts, to another episode of The Metal Dude Abides. Tonight, we are going to take a look at the very latest album from the band Blackbraid, Blackbraid 3. Now, just to keep it 100 with my audience, keep it real, I'm not the biggest black metal fan on planet Earth. I thoroughly admit that. But every year, there's at least one or two albums that really hits that sweet spot for me. And way back in 2023, my son introduced me to this band and the album at the time, Blackbraid 2. And it was pretty good. I really enjoyed that album quite a bit, and I considered it to win Black Metal Album of the Year back then. But unfortunately for them, they ran into a juggernaut that year. Hell Ripper just won everything that year. What a fantastic year for Hell Ripper. So now, here they are back in 2025. We're going to review this album and see if maybe they're going to be a contender for Best Black Metal Album of 2025. We're going to check this out. Now, if you are not familiar with the band Blackbraid, they are a one-man band. Come to think of it, so is Hell Ripper. What is it about these black metal bands that just have one member in it? I'll do all the singing. I'll do all the instruments. I'll do all the producing. Some real alpha male vibes going on right here in the black metal community. Anyway, I digress. This band is dedicated to Native American culture, and in particular, the symbiotic relationship between nature and the indigenous peoples. So, some really beautiful stuff going on here. Now, the other reason you stuck around this long on the video is you also want to see if I can say this dude's name. All right, kids, don't try this at home. I am a professional. Sagagasawa. Sagagasawa. I don't think I'm even coming close. It is a Mohican name that means witch hawk. Let's just stick with that. I was just talking about the fact that I constantly butcher the names of musicians, albums, and band names just constantly. So you kind of have to, it's part of my charm, I suppose. But anyway, this dude is an excellent performer. I'm really looking forward to reviewing this album. Let's go track by track and see what Blackbraid 3 has to offer. The first track on this album is called Dusk Eulogy. Now, there is a pattern to this album. Let me explain. There are interludes, little musical performances, little instrumental numbers, and then it breaks into song, and then it breaks into an interlude, and then it breaks into a song. So you'll see this over and over again. This first one is absolutely brilliant, and it really brings that atmospheric black metal into play, because the first things you hear in this sound is the sound of a campfire. And so you instantly, this is why this is so brilliant. The song tells you this is happening at dusk, so it's starting to get late. There's a campfire. You can see the flames flickering up, reflecting off the old witch hawk's eyes. It's a lonely, solitary situation. Few stars starting to appear. It just transforms you into this. That's the whole point of atmospheric black metal. And he does this brilliantly over and over again. And it starts right here with the first track, Dusk Eulogy. This dude is brilliant. I love this music, but we got to work on some of these titles. The second track, War Drums at Dawn on the Day of My Death. I'm getting too old to try to remember all those big long titles, but I digress. So again, you have this beautiful interlude, acoustic guitars, campfire noises, just serene setting. And then boom, he hits you with this rapid fire drumming it's really quite of a jarring transition. And I think he does that for a reason. We'll talk about that as we go through the album. The other thing I really like about this song is at one point it really starts to accelerate through a series of blazing fast guitar solos. Look, I love good, crunchy, stompy riffs just like everybody else. But hey, I'm a child of the 80s. I love my blazing fast solos. Here, the old Witch Hawk gives us both. Crunchy, stompy riffs overlaid by blazing fast solos, fast drums. This from very serene to very aggressive. I like this very first transition. This first song is a real banger. Speaking of great guitar work, the second title, The Dying Breath of the Sacred Stag, starts off with beautiful acoustic guitars. It breaks into crunchy, smart riffs, and then has these beautiful, again, blazing guitar solos. But much like the first song that speeds up by using guitars, this one speeds up through the use of drums, kind of flips it on its head from the last one. This song, like these first two tracks that I'm talking about here, were the singles that were released prior to the album. Of the two singles, I think this one is by far my favorite. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb. I think this is my favorite Blackbraid song to date. Now, once it goes through these stages of acoustic guitar, crunchy riffs, blazing solos, then it kind of goes back into one of the best head-banging riffs you're ever going to hear. I love this song. If there's one song that you want to check out on this entire Blackbraid album, this might be the bad boy you go to first. The fourth track is a song called The Earth is Weeping. And once again, I can't stop gushing about these little interludes because there's so much symbolism to this. The earth is weeping. So now, instead of a campfire crackling in the background, there's a light, gentle rain pouring. Rain, weeping, huh? And in the background, there's coyotes crying. Crying, weeping, see the symbolism? But, it's really great because, once again, it takes you to the middle of a forest. And you can hear the coyotes yapping and crying in the background, but it really gives kind of a sense of the vastness of this area. The coyote is not right next to you. It's kind of off in the distance a bit. Really so it gives you that lonely feeling as well because you're in a huge area and all the wildlife is way off in the distance. This dude has some really brilliant interludes. And I mean, not only does it transport you musically, but you're almost to the point where you can smell the wet grass in the forest. If you've ever been in the forest after a nice rain, the smell of that all that green coming to life with that wet smell, it's just unbelievable how well he does these little interludes. The next song is called God of Black Blood. Now, you just were in the forest, nice serene location, gentle rain pouring, coyotes crying in the background, to literally someone vomiting up black blood. That's right, the song starts off with the Witch Hawk here making these like vomiting type of noises. Very sinister, very, very heavy vocals on this track. Now, this track also is the first time, at least that I can sense or hear, where the old Witch Hawk starts to introduce some Native American instruments. In particular here, he really breaks into the Native American flute. I love that sound. Now, the ironic part of this is that's usually a very serene sound, right? Uh, Me and my wife like to go to this Indian resort, Native American resort, and you go into the lodge, and it's up in the mountains, and the whole side of the building is just windows. It overlooks a serene lake, and the mountains in the background, and they're playing that just beautiful, serene Native American flute. But here, it's used in a very heavy song, and it kind of, is in with the drums and the guitars, and just it's really, but it adds a little bit of softness to it. But again, this is a very heavy song. And then, if that's not enough, he kind of puts the flute away, and at about the 4.5 minute mark, he picks up that guitar again and just starts shredding. I love this song. Again, a very jarring transition between the interlude in this song, a very heavy song, but lots of things moving in this song that make it very interesting. The next track, Traversing the Forest of Eternal Dusk. We go back to the interlude. Seeing the pattern, song, interlude. Here we go back to the forest, and it is my absolute, I'm going to tell you right now, this is my favorite interlude of the entire album. It is a beautiful instrumental track that starts off with Spanish guitar. I love Spanish guitar, and it also leans in heavily on the Native American flute. So we're introduced to, as kind of a background to the guitars and drums. Now it's really playing prominently along with the Spanish guitars. Spanish guitars, Native American flutes being played in harmony. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love this track. I love it so much. It's hard to pick one of the interludes as your favorite song on the whole album, but it is, I'm mesmerized by this. Once again, end of the year, when we're starting to talk about best instrumental performance, this bad boy is probably going to be way up in the nomination list. But I digress. I also want to talk a little bit about the crickets, because ironically enough, it reminded me of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law also happens to be Native American, hated crickets. She would tear up a house looking to find a cricket and get rid of that cricket. That always made me, it brought back some really good memories. See, this is why this guy is so brilliant. It just brought back some really great memories and really made me chuckle. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law passed away several years ago, and I just really miss her. So it was great to have these great memories of her come flowing back. The next song is called Tears of the Dawn. And once again, we leave our serene forest. And the old witch hawk, he really likes to hit you right off the bat with some heavy drums, some aggressive drums, and some really sick vocals. And this is no exception. Now, this is one of 2 songs on the album that are over 9 minutes long. But just when you think, well, I'm not a real big fan of 9-minute songs, you're about 3 minutes into it thinking, I wonder where this is going to go. About the 3.5-minute mark, it kicks into another gear. Blazing fast guitar, just really speeds up for about a minute. Then it slows right back down, and it goes into these biting, crunchy riffs, really smart riffs. And then about a minute later, it kicks back into another really heavy, speedy moment, but this time all that speed's being generated through these blast beat drums that are driving the thing forward. And every time they do a transition, it's usually done through like a really smart vocal cue from the singer. This is really well done. I am not a fan of long songs, but listen, if you're a band and you want to put together a 9-10 minute song, this is how you do it, because you're constantly changing tempos. You're constantly leaving the listener wondering what's coming next, never quite letting you feel comfortable in where you're at because you know things are about to change. This is a freaking epic song. It is a masterpiece. I love this song to death. Our next track, we go back to the interludes with a song called Like Wind Through the Reeds. And let me just say right here, that's not the entire title of the song. It's one of those title songs that just keeps going and going and going. So we're going to shorten it here for my sanity's sake. Stop with the long, long titles there, Witch Hawk. Anyway, once again, I digress. We go back to the Spanish guitar. And now I'm starting to see another pattern in the album, which is really kind of cool. When he does the interludes and then breaks into the song, he does a jarring, jolting transition that really enhances the heaviness of the song. But all of these really heavy songs all kind of trail off into kind of an acoustical, softer side that transitions beautifully and brilliantly back into the forest, back into the interlude. So you get the jolt coming out of the forest, but as you come back into the atmosphere, when you come back to where the old Witch Hawk wants you to get, he starts preparing you for that in the heavy song. This is really just genius stuff. And again, more Spanish guitar. I love it. But this one, the wind is going through the reeds. Well, where do reeds hit? Now we're in the forest, but now we're close to a river. There's birds chirping. There's a river rushing through. Again, transforming you back to the forest. But every time you go back to the forest, it gives you a little bit of a different feel for the forest. Now I feel like darkness has ended. Now it's the morning, and the wind is starting to blow through the reeds, and the river is in it, like not even a river, like a stream is going in the background. But I have a feeling we're about to get jolted one more time. And He Became the Burning Stars is our next track. And sure enough, here we come with a big heavy riff and particularly some really tasty bass licks going on to get this bad boy started. This is the longest song on the album, but once again, almost 10 minutes long, but it doesn't feel like 10 minutes because the old Witch Hawk here, he's got so much going on in this album. Similar to the last one, you've got lots of transitions, always keeping you on your toes, never quite getting comfortable into a groove before he's moving you and just gently nudging you and manipulating you through this song. I've run out of superlatives. Every dang song is just a masterpiece. The way that he has put this all together is brilliant. Let's see if he can close it out on a high note. The final track is next. The final track is a song called Fleshbound. Now, if you're familiar with my record reviews, I always tell you my favorite tracks on an album. On this bad boy, there are many. And I also tell you my least favorite track on at least one track on every album. Well, since I haven't mentioned one yet, I guess you know what's coming. This is probably my least favorite track. But it's not a knock on this song. This knock is a real headbanger, a real heavy song, really good. Kind of would fit right in with Blackbraid too, if you don't mind me saying. So why is it my least favorite track? Well, it kind of doesn't fit at the end of the album. We just got through And He Became the Burning Stars, this big 9.5 minute epic. You probably should end on something like that. I follow the old Ronnie James Dio style of music. You put the big burner at the beginning, you do your things, and then you close on the big epic. And here I think that's this song it just falls a little flat compared to the song before it. A very good song. In fact, I'm going to say Blackbraid 3 gets the Metal Dude stamp of approval as being a perfect album. Every track on this album is fantastic, but I think you're not doing this song justice by putting it on after the epic song before it. But again, that is a nitpicky thing to talk about. But I have to come up with one song that's my least favorite, so I guess here it is. Let's get to my summary next. Going back and forth between these beautiful acoustical interludes, these serene moments in the forest, to these big, heavy songs, to even these bigger, epic songs, gives the entire album a real grandiose feel. I liked Blackbraid 2. I thought it was an excellent album, but Blackbraid 3 is clearly a step up, a step in the right direction, a nice progression for the band. I think Blackbraid 3 is by far the best Blackbraid album to date. We've talked about all the songs that I like, but let's go through it. The Dying Breath of a Sacred Stag, Traversing the Forest of Eternal Dusk, Tears of the Dawn. But again, I like every song on the album. It is a perfect album. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have a contender for Black Metal Album of the Year. There's another one that's going to give it a run for their money. Spoiler alert, you'll have to wait for my end of year shows. But it's definitely at least in the top two. And again, I think it's pulled just a nudge ahead of the other one. So I would say at the moment, this is the best black metal album of the year. Now we're only in August, so all you black metal bands out there, the bar has been set. You know what the target is. See if you can come in and beat these guys out for the prize. Not only is this a contender, an early favorite for Black Metal Album of the Year, this is going to be strong enough to also be a contender for top albums in the overall category. So usually I put together like a top 10 or top 20 albums of the year. This bad boy will also be a contender for those categories as well. This is an excellent album, one of the best albums of 2025. Go check out Blackbraid 3. It is a true masterpiece.